First goal for Spurs. It's the winner in a big game here at Leeds. How did you find it?
Feels really good, something I've been working on for the past month, but feels really great to score my first goal, open doors for more to come.
Tottenham have done it again. Another tense Premier League win that felt like a roller coaster from start to finish. Leeds United 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2, and honestly, this was one of those matches that showed both the promise and problems of Thomas Frank's early Spurs era. The first half, chaotic, messy, and at times painful to watch, but the second half, bro, we came alive completely. The press clicked, the front line opened up, and of course, Mohammed Kudus turned into prime Ronaldinho with a GPS tracker, bro. This guy was all over the place, man. Taking up touches, beating his man, bro. This guy was moving mad, bro. Absolutely mad. Mohammed Kudus, man. What a player. But before we dive in, if you love the tactical breakdowns, Spurs chaos, and a bit of emotional damage every single weekend, make sure to hit that like button and also subscribe as well, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you know exactly when I upload a video or go live. If you didn't know, I'm live for every single Spurs game on the weekend, so smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notifications so you know exactly when I go live. And I heard if you actually hit that like button, then it makes Bentancur a better player. So if you want Bentancur to become better, be sure to smash that like button. Alright, so let's start directly from the top. Tottenham set up in their usual 4-2-3-1 with Bentancur and Palhinha sitting in that double pivot. Leeds, meanwhile, went with a 4-3-3 at Ellen Road and came out flying, pressing high, snapping into duels, and feeding off the home crowd, which they were up for this match. Statistically, Leeds edged possession across the whole game with 56.5% possession compared to Spurs' 43.5%, which tells you just how much control they had for long spells. But that number's just a little bit deceiving because most of that came from a very scrappy first half. Spurs were losing the ball constantly, 51 times in the middle third alone, compared to Leeds just 40. That's insane. That's an insane number for a team that likes to play through the center. So let me dive a little bit more deeper into the way Spurs built up. So Spurs are building up in a little bit of like a 4-2-2-2 shape. Pretty much the build up for Spurs in the first half was very, very narrow. So we had Palhinha and Bentancur more so in the middle of the pitch, as well as Xavi Simons, and sometimes you had either Odobert or Kudus popping up in those middle spaces as well. Now this left us with barely any width, and when we had the width, we pretty much just had to rely on Kudus to bail us out of a sticky situation. And then of course, Leeds noticed this and they stayed very, very compact, forcing us to play sideways and backwards. And like I said, the only times where our width showed off was when he could really go wide to Kudus, but Kudus can't always beat his man one-on-one every single time. He can't always hold up the ball every single time. And it pushes a choke point on that right-hand side. So it made things very tough for Spurs to build up in that game, or at least in the first half. The only real overlap that we had was with Udogie and Odobert on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, there was zero overlaps. It was just launch it to Kudus and hope that this guy can work a little bit of magic. No sustained final third presence as well, and our tempo was straight up just sluggish. It was like trying to play vertical football in a phone booth, bro. And then when your two most advanced players in Kudus and Xavi Simons are standing next to a bunch of Leeds players, it makes it very hard to create opportunities, let's just be real. Like, how is Kudus supposed to wriggle out of 5-6 men all the time? Pause. You know what I mean? Just doesn't make sense. So, you may ask, what changed in the second half? Was it tactical brilliance from Thomas Frank? Or was it just Mohammed Kudus turning into Lionel Messi in the final 45 minutes? Yes, I said it. This brother was moving mad. So coming out of halftime, we pretty much had was Thomas Frank making a few subtle adjustments, but very smart adjustments. So he pushed up Bentancur and Palhinha a little bit higher up the pitch, not both at once, but simultaneously. So a lot of the times in the second half, you had Bentancur taking up these positions to allow more freedom and flexibility within the lines, and you had Palhinha pushing up a little bit more, which gave more passing options in tight, so you had more triangles forming all over the pitch. So if I make some triangles right now, you have a triangle right here between Porro, Bentancur, and Kudus. You have a triangle right there. And then if I make another triangle, you have another one forming right here between Bentancur, Palhinha, and Matisse Tell. You also have another one here formed between Udogie, Odobert, and Xavi Simons. So the whole idea was to have more passing options, because now you have passing options into Porro. Porro can go 1, 2, 3 like that. You can also put it up to Kudus, and then Kudus has the runner and Bentancur taking up these half spaces. So this was a very smart tactical adjustment that Thomas Frank made in that second half compared to what he had before, which is pretty much just Palhinha and Bentancur sitting deep and playing so narrow, which is a problem. So he pretty much shifted into a little bit more of a 4-3-3 within that second half to allow for more freedom of Bentancur and Xavi being more offensive minded, which ended up paying off to allow for that Mohammed Kudus goal. Because what happens is that when Bentancur makes this run, it drags a defender, it drags a fullback with him, which opens up space for Kudus to walk in and cut inside with the ball and then end up having a shot, which of course we know that he ended up scoring that. So that's not a straight angle, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's a big tactical shift that Thomas Frank made in that second half. So like I said, there's a lot of triangles within that midfield, which allowed Xavi Simons and Bentancur to find more half spaces, specifically Xavi Simons. In that second half, rewatch the second half, Xavi Simons had a load more of space due to Bentancur pushing farther up and due to Palhinha pushing farther up as well in certain moments. Suddenly, Kudus started to drift more wider right to isolate defenders one-on-one, and that's when Spurs were able to breathe and have more space. And you could literally see it. Leeds went from controlling the tempo to chasing straight shadows. And while the possession numbers stayed roughly the same, Spurs' progressive carries and passes into the final third shot up dramatically in the second half. And one thing that's really starting to emerge is the Udogie and Odobert partnership. Those two were cooking down that left side, constantly overlapping, underlaps, intelligent rotations. Every time they combined, Leeds' right flank was scrambling. Udogie in particular was a machine, bro. He contested 24 duels, won the majority of his aerials, and was constantly driving forward into space. His energy allowed Odobert to stay higher and stretch Leeds, and that created the exact width Spurs were missing in that first half. Now, I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan of the Bentancur-Palhinha partnership, and when I first saw it, bro, I felt, bruh, this guy Thomas Frank does not learn. Listen, as kids, our mothers and fathers always told us, do not touch the hot stove because you will get burned. Now, as kids, we of course touched the hot stove and we got burned. They're like, all right, I don't want to get burned again. So 99% of us was like, all right, if I touch the stove again, I'll get burned. And we learned from that. We never did it again. But there was that 1% that got burned before and then continued to touch the hot stove and continued to get burned and complained after they got burned, even though they were told, yo, touch the hot stove and you're getting burned. Thomas Frank is that 1% when it comes to using Palhinha and Bentancur in that midfield. We've been burned by it so many times so far this season, and he did it again. So I was thinking like, bro, what is we doing? But there was one X factor here, and that was Xavi Simons. Having Xavi Simons ahead of Palhinha and Bentancur unlocked the creativity and bridged that gap that we had before when it came to the lack of offensive threat. And the structure gave Spurs stability while still leaving space for Kudus to operate. With that being said, I'm still not fully sold on it. It limits our attacking transitions a bit, and we relied too far heavily on Kudus and Xavi Simons to make moments of magic out of nowhere. And speaking of magic, speaking of flair, Mohammed Kudus was a cheat code today, and this guy is consistently proving why he is our signing of the season. Where do I even start? This guy, in my books, was a 10 out of 10. He was the game's difference maker in every single sense. 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 shots on target, 2 key chances created, 1 accurate long ball, 6 out of 6 successful dribbles, and over 88% passing accuracy. Every single time he picked up the ball, Leeds backed off. He was that rare combination of pace, balance, and unpredictability. Defenders didn't even know whether he was going to go inside, drive to the byline, or play a quick give and go. And the confidence, my God. There was one time where Kudus was on the ground with 3 men on him. This guy was breakdancing on the ground and no one could get the ball off him. I was sitting there, I was like, yo, okay, like blow the whistle, that's a foul. Whistle didn't blow. And he kept going. He kept breakdancing on the floor with the ball and he came out with the ball. I was like, bro, what am I watching? You can see it game by game. He's not just fitting into the Premier League, he's commanding it. Last season, Kudus had a total of 8 combined goals and assists in the league. This season though, he's already on 5 and we're only in early October. That's elite form. That's breakout season stuff. And I do not even care if it sounds like I'm glazing him right now because I am. I genuinely am, bro. Full glaze. Kudus is the heartbeat of this team right now. When he's on the pitch, Spurs look dangerous. When he's not, well, we genuinely look like we're waiting for someone else to do the heavy lifting. That's reality. Now, let's talk big picture. Was this Spurs' best performance? No, absolutely not. But it was a smart, mature win. Frank's in-game management deserves a lot of credit. He recognized what wasn't working, adjusted positioning, and made Spurs look far more balanced in the second half. It wasn't flawless, but it was progress. Despite Leeds having more of the ball, Spurs managed to match them physically, 93 duels to 94, 24 aerial duels each. It was a gritty battle and Spurs held their ground. We even edged them on duel success rate in key areas, particularly in the defensive third, which helped close the game out. Still, it's fair to say Spurs are being carried right now by moments of individual brilliance rather than a fully cohesive system. The patterns are still forming and the chemistry is not 100% there yet, but for now, that's okay. We're only a few months into the season and we've only lost just once. So say what you want about Thomas Frank, but we've only lost just one time this season. And if this is what unfinished Spurs looks like, what happens when it actually clicks? So yeah, an up and down performance, but a vital win. Kudus shines again. Simons continues to settle. Udogie and Odobert look electric, and Frank's tactical flexibility is quietly taking shape. The attack's still inconsistent, but the building blocks are there right now and they're currently being built. We're grinding out results, we're learning on the fly, and finding different ways to win. And that's what good teams do. But now the real question is, does this Palhinha setup have a future, or is it time for Frank to start tweaking things again and find a better attacking balance? Let me know in the comments below because honestly, I'm torn. We saw that it worked in this game, but we had to have Xavi Simons on that 10. If he's not there, I think some would argue that it just doesn't work. Either way, Spurs are evolving slowly but surely, and if Kudus keeps playing like this, we might just be witnessing the rise of our next superstar. There's something special brewing at Tottenham Hotspur, and you can genuinely feel it. Not quite perfection, but potential. Thomas Frank's still piecing together the puzzle, trying to find chemistry between his new stars, and when that moment comes, this Spurs team could be genuinely frightening. We've seen flashes, Simons' creativity, Kudus' explosiveness, Palhinha's steal, but once those pieces fully align, Tottenham could genuinely start to look like a top 4 side again. It's not perfect football yet, far from it actually, but these are the kind of gritty character building wins that make a season. And if this version of Spurs is still ironing out the wrinkles, can win ugly away at Ellen Road, imagine what they'll look like when it all comes full circle. And the scary part, bro, this isn't even the finished article. Not even close. And that's what makes this so exciting. But anyways, that's my breakdown of Tottenham's 2-1 win over Leeds United. If you want to dive deeper into why this team looks so different and how Spurs summer signings like Kudus, Simons, and Palhinha are reshaping the entire squad, check out the video on screen right now. I break down every transfer, what Frank is trying to build, and how it could define our season. Don't forget to like and subscribe.